So I see that we are being able to be listened to and see us. Our first order of business is to welcome everybody, our HOSA members and our advisors, for joining us this evening. If you aren't able to see the whole broadcast today, or you have some technical difficulties, remember that this session will be posted after it's done on our National HOSA YouTube page. So tell others so that they may be very well informed about our NLC Preview webinar. Today we will be speaking to you about all the wonderful things you can do and experience at NLC. And I would like to thank Christine Kim, our secondary board representative, for joining us, and also Piyush Puri for joining us. He is our Region 3 Vice President. So together we'll be sharing our experiences and our excitement for NLC. So I want for Christine and Piyush to first tell us about their excitement about the opening session. What do you remember about your first national conference and subsequent ones? Christine?
I remember just being in the room and everyone is super excited. Everyone's jumping around. They're in their states, and everybody has these light up gadgets. And it's cool seeing what kind of gadgets every state has, because every state has a different one. And everyone is screaming, excited, jumping out of their seats. And then it finally begins, and the nerves just rush away. And I'm so excited just to see everyone and their excitement for the conference and for everything that is to follow.
For those of you who just joined us, we're talking about the excitement that comes with opening session. Now, opening session is probably my favorite part of the entire NLC experience, because this is going to be my 5th National Leadership Conference, and each time I look forward to that countdown that goes on at the beginning of every opening session. And as soon as it goes 10 minutes, 9 minutes, as soon as this 10-second countdown begins, you can just feel like the nerves and excitement pulsating throughout the entire building. And this year I think we have a lot to look forward to, because my first conference was in Anaheim. And the Anaheim Convention Center is huge, it's beautiful, and the excitement flows so naturally through that building. So I'm very excited for those of you who have never experienced it before to have your first encounter with it. It's definitely something that you've never experienced before.
Yeah, definitely. My first National Leadership Conference, I walked into a room at the back and I could see everybody already sitting down, exciting, dancing, and it was very a celebration, really, of all of our members and all of the accomplishments we had done throughout the year. Also, a big part of the National Leadership Conference, besides our general sessions, is the competitions, and many of us do testing. I did testing all in high school. I did competitive events that regarded testing. That was called Concepts of Healthcare, but there's others that require a second round. And I've noticed throughout our travels that each state does things differently. Some people have that everybody advances to second round and does their skills. And at national, since we're so large, not everybody will get to do second round test skill demonstration. So can somebody share with us about their experience?
Right, so I can definitely talk about that. So my sophomore year, I was in Orlando for the National Leadership Conference. I was competing with one of my best friends in CPR first aid, and I remember that we were going into the competition room. We did our first round of testing, and after the testing was over, everyone exited the room and we were told to await our results. Now, our results are usually posted near HOSA headquarters or some common lobby area, and that can be very easily identified once you get to the conference. So I believe that they also post the individuals who pass and make it to the next round online. So that's another resource you guys can use. But I actually didn't make it to the second round of my competition when I was in my sophomore year. And I remember just going through, and naturally you'd think that if someone doesn't make it to the second round of their competition, they'll feel a little disappointed or something of that nature. But kind of to my pleasant surprise, I wasn't disappointed at one bit, because after opening session, the experience already was so worth it for me. And I was just so glad to be surrounded by incredible HOSA members who were equally as interested in healthcare and the future of healthcare. So I encourage you all to think outside of the competitions. Do your best, put your best foot forward. But for those of you competing in events like I did that involve multiple rounds, don't be discouraged if you have to exit your competition earlier than you hope, because the experience is really what makes it worth it.
Thank you. Another unique component of conferences are not only the competitive events, but also our leadership universities and the educational symposiums we have. I can tell you I've attended both the local symposiums and also the state-oriented symposiums, and they're both great enhancers for your leadership opportunities and skills. You get to meet people from across the country, and that's been so amazing throughout the years to be exchanged. I have friends that go to other states, and they're in the position where I am right now that I met through those events, and we were able to connect and tell us, oh, what class are you taking in college? Are you still pre-med? What medical school did you go into? So that has been a great event. What have you guys experienced with the leadership universities and symposiums?
With me, I did the leadership university with some of the state officers, and after going to that, I honestly can say I've met some of my best friends from there. I talked to some people from North Carolina, from South Carolina, from Oklahoma, and I still talk to them today. And I think meeting people in those kind of symposiums and those environment really fosters growth in friendship and also in connections. And so with that, I honestly am so thankful for the opportunity to attend those meetings and attend those sessions, because I wouldn't have met those people otherwise.
Thank you, Christine. Another interesting activity or entertainment that you are going to be able to find Friday night is our hypnosis show, excuse me. And I've never been to one, but I hear that one of our NEC members has. Would you like to share some, Hughes?
But the hypnosis show is a unique experience I encourage everyone to attend. It's something that I definitely wasn't anticipating when I arrived at the National Leadership Conference. When I knew that there was going to be a supplementary social activity to the HOSA dance that we normally have, I was kind of eager to see what exactly this hypnosis show would be about. And it's interesting because you wouldn't think that in a crowd of thousands of students and advisors, this one person would be able to hypnotize everyone in the audience, but indeed they can. And it's interesting to see how everyone's up and dancing and doing all these crazy things that kind of borderline on HOSA professional, but it's definitely fun, and it's nice to see everyone let loose and enjoy after all these competitions.
Thank you. And the hypnosis show will be right after our Friday night recognition session. If this is the first time attending National Leadership Conference, we have several general sessions. Our first one is our opening session, our Grand Award session on Saturday. There's one for secondary and one for post-secondary, and also a recognition Friday night. So each session we have different activities and also recognition for each of our members that are going to be awarded. And we have different speakers. This year we have the honor of having as our keynote speaker for the opening session, Dr. Samson Davis. I know somebody had a question. Feel free to type in your questions, and if they're relevant to what we're speaking at the moment, we'll hear them out and answer them. He is a great writer. I bought his book and I read it in 2 days, and I can tell you he has a very unique writing style and perspective into what he will share with us at NLC about his lifetime and his service to our nation and to his patients, especially those. He has a very inspiring story of his upbringing and how he overcame many hurdles. So I encourage you to get the book if you don't have it yet. It's a page turner. Another session, and this might be relevant to a lot of people watching and that are interested in attending to see and learn more about how HOSA works, is our business session. This is where we get to select the motions that will be approved and brought forward to the organization, and where our national officer candidates get to deliver their speeches before everyone that's voting. If I would like to have Christine share about the business session, both being a voting delegate and then being a national officer candidate, what do you have to share about that?
As a voting delegate, I got to sit in the crowd and hear the speeches, but then what was really cool about it was I got to meet the leaders of the organization, or the future leaders of the organization. People came up to me, shook my hand, told me about what they wanted to see in the organization, how they saw, how they were going to change. And seeing the growth of each member that was going to run for an office was inspiring to me, and that's why I ran. It was actually one of the reasons why I became an officer in the first place. And after that, being actually a candidate, it was probably the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done, but I am so thankful for the opportunity because this opportunity is once in a lifetime, to be honest. And as a voting delegate, although you get to sit through all the meeting and it's a business session, it's a rewarding experience because not a lot of people get to see it. The business session is, Ugo, is it open to everyone?
Yes, anybody is able to go to the business session and listen to the speeches. They may not communicate with the voting delegates. They may not approach the section in which they're sitting, but everybody is encouraged to attend the business session and see who will become the next leaders of HOSA, Future Health Professionals.
And I really hope everyone takes the opportunity to hear our future leaders because that's where it all starts with us.
So now that we know about these sessions, how do you prepare for them? What would you like to share with us, Piyush?
Yeah, so it's very important that you guys kind of look at the different sessions and what the suggested attire is for all these sessions. I know that was something that me and my school and my state association, we always kind of like we're proud of, that we approached each session with appropriate attire, because when you try to enter any session, there are going to be people at the door known as our courtesy corps who are just remarkable HOSA student volunteers, and they're going to be checking to make sure that you're in the appropriate attire for that respective event. So for example, opening session, the award sessions, everyone needs to be, as you can see, we're all in HOSA uniform. You guys need to be in HOSA uniform for that. When it comes to dances and like the hypnosis show, obviously we don't expect you to be in your HOSA attire, like your uniforms for that, but we do ask that everyone wear appropriate clothing, and those specific guidelines are actually delineated in our dress code, which you can find online. But just something that I personally, whenever members ask me, if you use your common sense and you know that if it's school appropriate, then it will be appropriate for these kind of events. So nothing too revealing, nothing too short, and nothing vulgar. So keeping those brief guidelines in mind, you should be fine for the HOSA Dance and Symposium.
Yes, definitely. And if you have any questions on how to dress for the general sessions, besides the official National HOSA uniform, which you can purchase, you can see the guidelines on both the HOSA guide and on our website of what is appropriate to wear for our members. I think there's something that we very much proud ourselves in HOSA, and when our sponsors and leaders see us, it's how professional we look on stage and off stage. And when we're walking the conference center, they either think we're here with a big business meeting, or they think we're conference staff or members of the hotel, and they want directions. And you're like, well, let me tell you as best as I can, but I don't really work for the organization here. But it's very nice to see how all of our members have that professional side to them, because they want to enter a field in which requires a lot of professionalism from all of us. There was a question that was mentioned regarding the business session. How do you run for national office? Piyush, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. So the national officer application process begins a lot earlier. So right now we're about a month out from the national conference, and application packets are just about due or have been recently due, so each state is allowed to nominate a small number of like distinguished members, kind of proven themselves through their state associations to run for national office. And you're not actually officially running for national office until you pass the exam at the National Leadership Conference. So for those of you interested in running for national office, I'd encourage you to check it out online and actually communicate this interest to your local chapter advisor and your state association. Because in order for you to run for national office, you need to have the support and kind of permission of your local chapter as well as your state association. And once they sponsor you to run for the position, you become an applicant. That kind of, your process begins differently at the National Leadership Conference. So all the applicants will be coming in, and they're going to be taking an exam, and once they pass that exam, they'll be attending all these various business sessions, the Meet the Candidates breakfast, and then delivering their speeches to finally get the vote.
Correct. I would like to share that each state is different. Depending on what state you're from, they handle the selection of the national officer candidates from that state differently. As a national rule, each state can submit 2 secondary, meaning 2 high school students, and 2 post-secondary students, 2 college students to run for national office. That is the limit. I know for a fact that there's one state that only submits 1 candidate only, and that's their rule. So you might want to check with both your local advisor and your state advisor on how to prepare for national office, and your current National Executive Council, and I'm sure the upcoming Executive Council will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have regarding our national officer experience. There has been a question on, do teachers and parents have a dress code? While the dress code for the students is, as Piyush said, basically the HOSA uniform, or what's been delineated in the handbooks and on our website, teachers and parents are required to, or expected to, I should say, dress professionally to attend all these sessions. You don't have to wear your HOSA blues and your maroon tie only and your white shirt, but there's an expected professionalism from both parents and teachers that are attending the conference. Competitive events. I would like for all of us to share our competitive events. I said that in high school I did Concepts of Healthcare, which was a knowledge test, and I actually got to go to the National Leadership Conference in high school my sophomore year, and I was so excited. That was back in Orlando, Florida, 6 years ago already, and that was very exciting for me to do. I was the only one from my chapter, the only one from my grade, and I came out with a lot of friends, great connections, from people that go to Harvard, to California, all over the place. But my competitive event was rigorous, and how did I prepare for it? I'll tell you that while I was in school, our state conference was in April. So I got to study some, but I was also balancing AP classes and dual credit classes at that moment, and I didn't study as much as I could. But once I was out of school, and since the conference wasn't until June, I had a lot of time to prepare and even master a lot more of my skills in order to prepare for Concepts of Healthcare. So I studied a lot. I made sure to double read the books and the sections that I needed to. And I think that's what made me successful. I didn't win for second or third, but I did get to go on stage twice as 4th and as 6th place both years. And that in and of itself was such an accomplishment. I know that getting to the national conference was the first big milestone and big excitement. So I did that, and then I did public service announcement in college, and we got to place twice, 1st and 2nd place. So, I mean, it's a lot of hard work, but it's about the details and the refinement you put into it. Each competitive event, it's its own monster and its own hurdle and its own big accomplishment that you can tell people, I did this on my own and I prepared. So it's up to you how hard you want to prepare and how overconfident you may be or not for when you come into the NLC. And even when you're at NLC, I'm not saying you should do this the whole time, but you can open up your book, brush up on your skills, perform some bandages on your friends if that's what your skill requires. How about you, Christine? What would you have to share about preparing for your competitive event?
In high school, I did prepared speaking for the majority of it, and I didn't make it to nationals, unfortunately, but how I prepared was I stood in front of the mirror and just talked to myself. And prepared speaking is all about being able to be comfortable talking, you're saying your speech in front of people, and just being confident and being able to focus on what you're doing at the moment. My advice, if anybody's doing prepared speaking, is to be in the moment. Don't think about what you're going to say next. Don't think about if you messed up before. Just know that the words that you're saying right now is impacting the person you're speaking to, so the judges. And have fun with it. A lot of speeches can be fun, and they can add little jokes and things like that, and those are things that people remember. And so a little advice for that. And so if you're doing prepared speaking, then good luck. I wish I was in your position because I never made it to nationals.
How about you, Piyush? What do you have to share about your experiences preparing for the National Leadership Conference?
Yeah, so I've competed in job-seeking skills, public service announcement, like I mentioned before, CPR first aid. Out of all of those, public service announcement was the best to me. I loved working with a team, and I was able to be national finalist actually 3 times over the past 4 years, so I'm very, very excited. Unfortunately, national officers cannot compete in competition, so this is the end of my competitive events journey. But just general advice to everyone, regardless of what competitive event I did or I saw my friends doing, please make sure you know your guidelines inside and out. Those are your holy grail. HOSA has listed everything you need to know, everything that you could possibly be tested on, regardless of what event you're doing. So look and really study those guidelines. Before I picked up any study materials for my CPR first aid exam, I made sure that I looked exactly at the competitive events guideline, understood my rubric, what I was going to be graded on, both for my skills portion and the exam portion. And actually for the CPR first aid, in the guidelines, they give you what study materials to use. So a lot of people don't actually put 2 and 2 together and don't study the guidelines. But since you guys have made it to nationals, you obviously have a strategy that works. And now to be the best of the best, just make sure you have all those basics down. And good luck.
Thank you. Another set of advice I would have for everybody watching is if your competitive event has a tiebreaker question or something at the end, I know for all the tests there's a tie-breaking question, I encourage you to put a lot of effort into it. Or why is this? Because you're against the best of the best across the nation. All of these students have prepared as hard as you have in completing this achievement of getting to the national conference. So you might tie, and it might come down to that tiebreaker that ends up deciding who will go home a national champion. There was a question, what is the Meet the Candidates breakfast like? So all the voting delegates, what is a voting delegate? We should start there. Voting delegates are the people chosen by each state association to represent them at the business meeting. These people will be voting on our motions and also on the candidates that are being put forth for national office. So they hold the responsibility of everyone for deciding the future of our organization. And one of the events they're invited to and encouraged to go, and I wouldn't know why they would miss it, is the Meet the Candidates breakfast. And we have breakfast, some pastries and fruit laid out for both all the voting delegates and the candidates, and it's a mingling event. It's for you to ask the national officer candidates why they might be the best for office, because there's going to be tough competition, let me tell you. We have a lot of people interested in running, and you as a voting delegate and you as a member of your state have the responsibility to selecting the best of the best that will represent us. And what I can tell you is advice for the national officer candidate is be ready to answer and to be honest with the members of what you have to put forward for our organization. Why are you the best representative? A big part of being in national office is meeting people, explaining to them why HOSA is worth investing in. And we want the best ones to be out there letting us know how we can make HOSA better. Why is HOSA worth investing in? So would you guys have any advice for national officer candidates, what they should do in their speeches or what they should focus on?
Sure thing. Christine, do you want to start?
Sure. So with me, my plan was just to be myself. I know some people go in with kind of a mindset of like pinpointing certain people and talking to them, but I honestly believe that if you want to be personable with someone, then you need to approach them in the most kind way and just speak to them as you are just having a casual conversation with your friends. Be very casual with it. I've noticed that some candidates would come in and kind of seem nervous. Don't act nervous. You're completely fine. They want to listen to you. And so, and also be very, like Ugo said, be very honest with your answers because they want to know your true intentions of running. And also just be, always smile. I find that when candidates and when other voting delegates see you smile, then you seem more approachable and you seem a lot friendlier. Of course, you're already smiling anyways because it's the National Leadership Conference, but make sure to just always have a positive attitude, because you are representing your state, and then from there you can potentially represent the entire organization. So good luck to all the candidates that are out there.
As far as advice goes, it's a lot. The entire process is a lot. I mean, the experience in itself, where you have a couple days to put together an entire campaign, not only put together, but implement and execute an entire campaign. So national officer candidates find out what position they're running for just days before the they'll be elected, or they have to give their speeches. So that's a lot to take into account. But my advice for everyone, especially those candidates, is when you're in that room and you're going through this experience with all the other candidates, don't make it personal and don't make it about running against each other. I actually had to run against one of my best friends this organization has given me. And throughout the entire thing, we could have easily been like, oh, I don't like you anymore, I don't like you anymore. But the way we approached it was, both of us are so interested in bettering HOSA, and regardless of whether we win or not, we're going to put our best foot forward, and we're just going to let the membership decide what they want. So I encourage you all to grow as a family. The entire candidates, like every year, they come together, and they're just a family. Like, we see each other throughout the conference. We obviously spend a lot of time going through the same high-pressure situations. So I think it's very important for you to make sure it's not very cutthroat and competitive, because there's nothing more contagious than the energy of those around you. And if you have a positive energy around you, everyone's just going to catch on. So just be positive with it, and best of luck.
Thank you. One advice I'll give to anybody who's maybe running for office: I came into the national conference with a speech written, and the day before I looked at it and I realized that wasn't my speech. I was very formal and very I didn't feel comfortable with it. So the night before, I decided to rewrite my speech, and that worked for me. But if you're a different type of leadership style, different preparation, do whatever works best for you. I know a lot of people like to make analogies in their speeches or quote different leaders and entertainers out there. So you might want to look into what feels comfortable for you and how do you best manage it. Somebody asked, how do you become a voting delegate? I was asked by my state advisor when I was in area, which is a regional officer, to be a voting delegate. So if you would be interested in becoming a voting delegate, it's a lot of work. I'll tell you that you have to go to a lot of different events and orientations and meetings and take your responsibility seriously. But if you want to participate in this manner and help further our organization, I strongly suggest that you contact the state advisor. There has been another question. How many competitors are there? We are expecting over 6,000 competitors total. And how many post-secondary competitors and delegates? There are about 650 post-secondary competitors currently registered to attend the National Leadership Conference. So it'll be an exciting year to attend, so make sure you're packing your bags correctly. Next, if you've been to a national conference before in the past 2 years, you might have noticed that HOSA has implemented a HOSA app. And this year we will be doing the same thing. We'll be releasing an app for our smartphones so that you can have the agenda and everything on here at the touch of a button. We will still have the programs, of course, but I found the phones to be so much more reliable and useful throughout. Piyush, what would you have to say that you liked using about the app?
Yeah, so the app was really handy because a lot of times you'd want to know where those events are. And since we have thousands of members all gathered together, you can imagine that we're going to need a lot of space, and there's going to be a lot of different venues for events. So one thing I'd recommend is once you get to the conference, familiarize yourself with like the common locations. Go through the app, and you can actually see where like the big events are going to be, like where's opening session, where's your event room. And actually, if it's on the venue itself, if it's on an off-site event, then walk to it. Make sure you know how to get there before the event actually happens, and use the app completely frequently. There's going to be updates on there. I know you can create a profile on there. You can also like add contacts. So it's very, very useful for networking. One of the greatest components of the National Leadership Conference is that you have access to thousands of HOSA members from all across the nation, all around the world now, And you don't want to pass up an opportunity like that because you have the chance to make friendships from everywhere, and that doesn't come very often. So seeing as this is my last National Leadership Conference, I know it's something that I'm going to continue to take advantage of one last time. And one really cool component of that, I know there was a question answered about this, is trading pins. So trading pins is kind of National HOSA's way and kind of a HOSA tradition that facilitates networking in a natural fashion. So each state has a pin. I believe Hugo and Christina, are you guys wearing the Texas pin right now? What is that?
We have the National Executive Council kind of board members.
Okay. So everyone has pins, like there are different pins that identify different kind of associations that you're part of. So I have New Jersey HOSA pins that I personally have. And I remember each time I went to a National Leadership Conference, I would get 10 of those pins from my local advisor that were passed down from my state advisor. And we'd just be like, go trade these with all the people you see. And at first I was like, wait, do other people have pins too? Everyone there has pins from their states. And it kind of becomes like a competition. You're given X amount of pins when you enter. How many can you leave with? Can you get the most coveted ones? I know sometimes certain states have like really, really fancy pins and they become all the attention. So it's very, very excellent. You're going to have a great time with it. So have some fun and show off your bargaining skills as you network with HOSA members.
Definitely. I think the pin trading is a highlight of a lot of what we do in HOSA at the national conference, because people will go up to you and they're like, oh, you're from New Mexico, you're from Alaska or Hawaii or even Puerto Rico, I'll trade you my pin, because they really, really want it. So it's supposed to be a bit of an icebreaker to meet people from all over the country. I know that some people gave me their, added me on Facebook and gave me their Snapchat so we could keep communicating. So that was a lot of fun. You get to meet people that you would, on a regular day back home in the summer, you wouldn't get to meet. So it's definitely a treat that you can enjoy. Besides the agenda, what other things can you find on the HOSA app? Maps. It's a big thing. We're a big conference and you don't want to get lost. So make sure you download the app so that you can know in which direction you are going, what rooms and what times you need to be there. And surveys. This year we're implementing and trying to go green and use more electronics that we can. So our educational symposiums and the general session will be rated on the app. So you can access a survey telling us how you like that educational symposium, what you thought about the opening session, the recognition session, the grant award session. Tell us how we can improve HOSA and your experience as a member. So those that come after us can have an even greater experience than the one we're already having now. Other things that you might be able to find on the app includes the scavenger hunt. There's going to be a scavenger hunt that you'll be given clues, and then you can go on and explore the properties and different adventures. And as Piyush was saying, you can create a profile and network with each other, people that you already know and people that you're going to get to know while at the conference, at the different competitive events and leadership sessions. So this year, our National Leadership Conference is being held where? In Anaheim, California, none other. So there was the question, what is Anaheim like? What's exciting for us to do there? And I can tell you that I very much enjoy the location, Anaheim, California. I'm from Texas as well as Christine, so we get to have our California experience when we're there. When I went to my first National Leadership Conference in Anaheim, we enjoyed the sights. We went to the beach. We actually went to Newport Beach, I believe, which is very close to Anaheim. We also did Universal Studios, we did Disneyland, and we did and we did Disney's California Adventure Park. So we tried to be as touristy as we could, and we had a great experience. Piyush, what would you say was your Anaheim experience like when you went?
So it was awesome. Once our school wrapped up the kind of our HOSA business, we wanted to have some fun as a school. And what we decided to do was, instead of going to Universal or kind of like the traditional HOSA attractions, we decided to take a bus tour of all the different celebrity mansions in the area, because you're in LA, you're in close proximity to Hollywood, so you might as well take advantage of that. And the houses you see, I know we saw the house that is used in the filmings of the Iron Man movies and even the Avengers movies, so that was really cool because I got to see where Tony Stark kind of crashes into some like windows, so that was awesome. We saw Bugatti on Rodeo Drive, so these are all kind of unique experiences that you can't get anywhere besides Anaheim. So I'd encourage your school, kind of get together with your chapter, decide how exactly do we want to make the most of like Anaheim as a city when we're going there, because you are traveling somewhere that's a huge tourist attraction, so you might as well be a little touristy while you're there.
Christine, have you had the experience of going to Anaheim for HOSA?
I have not, and I am very excited to go and visit Amit's little land and just kind of like experience the California scene. I haven't been there since I was little, and so I'm excited to go back.
Yeah, definitely. The National Executive Council, your national officers, and I do get one day of fun in California while we're there. So we still haven't decided what we will be doing, but I think we've narrowed it down between going to Disneyland and or California Adventure or Knott's Berry Farm. So I think they're very exciting, and if you've never heard or seen Knott's Berry Farm, it's another attraction, theme park. I've heard, I've never been, but I've heard it's a lot of more roller coasters and thrill rides compared to Disneyland. So if you're like me and you like roller coasters, that might be an exciting place for you and your chapter to look at. Or if you enjoy the fireworks, which I very much do, Disneyland might as well be a safe bet. Other things that you can enjoy while at Anaheim might be spending time and bonding with your fellow HOSA members from your chapter and from others. Meet up at the meet at the lobby for some coffee, or perhaps enjoy the pool. It might be the simple things that might make the best conference that you have ever attended. So it's up to you and how do you want to spend the time. And in this age of revolution and the internet, I'm sure there's countless opportunities that even we are not aware that you could explore in Anaheim, and those are just a couple of suggestions. Very great question. What kinds of things should I pack? What do you think people should pack? Essentials, Christine.
Essentials, HOSA suit, and comfortable shoes. You're going to be walking a lot. The facility is very large, and so you don't want, girls don't wear really high inch heels because you'll be walking in them all day. Plus it's hot because it's California in the summer. And so make sure to pack comfortably, and then also for women to dress nicely, and also have skirts that are long enough, of course, and also comfortable shoes. Bathing suits if you want to go swimming, that's an essential, and then just clothes for going outside and having adventures. But make sure everything you wear is very appropriate, because even if you go outside into California, you want to represent HOSA well, because some people like to wear their lanyards around their neck, and they also represent HOSA. And so what you wear, what you say, how you act represents the organization. And so packing things that are very appropriate is highly recommended. And of course your toiletries, but that's...
That is up to each person what toiletries they bring. I can say I'm very guilty of forgetting my toiletries when I travel. This year I've learned something very unique. It's that it is an advice that was given to me by even more experienced travelers, is to always on your carry-on have a complete change of clothes, because you might not know if your baggage might be delayed by a couple of hours or even a couple of days. So you might want to have a complete change of clothes with you when you travel. I would say that I am very guilty of overpacking when I attend HOSA conferences. It's a 3-day conference. I'm probably packing for a week. I'll put 7 shirts and 7 pairs of jeans and things like that. So don't do it like me. Do it like Christine. Be very smart about how you pack and what you bring. One big one that I would recommend for California is to bring plenty of sunblock. I know if you're going to be out there exploring, we want to avoid those harmful UV rays and keep health conscious when we're out there. We have another question. How is competing at nationals different than at state? one of the main differences is that you're there with the cream of the crop, as they might say. Everybody is won first, second, or third at their state competition, so the competition has definitely heated up. I can attest to it myself. Winning first place in Texas doesn't mean that you're going to get first place at nationals. So you might want to be mindful of that. Also, I've noticed from the states that I travel to, for example, everybody would be take the test and everybody would advance automatically to the second round, and that is not the case at nationals. If you're in a competition that is a two-step competition, you have to convince either through testing or the judges that your competition is worthy of advancing to the next round. So not everyone might get to present their final project. Also, sometimes at state conferences, depending on the resources they have, they might not abide or specifically do everything that the guidelines call for. And at nationals, we ensure that 100% of the national guidelines are followed. So if you, again, like Piyush said, look at those guidelines. They can be your Bible for your competition. Do everything that's on there so you can be a successful HOSA member. Christine or Piyush, what would you say is different from nationals and state competition?
Piyush, I haven't competed at nationals.
I would say in terms of states to nationals, with a lot of events you go through the regional level and then you progress to states, and you'll see a lot of the same competition again. So as Ugo said, the competition is definitely the cream of the crop, but that poses you with an exciting opportunity. It's not something you get bogged down with, like, wow, I'm going against so many worthy and talented people. It's that, wow, I'm going against so many incredible individuals, and I really have a lot to take advantage of. If you aren't, like, if you're really stressed out, I know when my PSA team was in our holding room, it's just a giant room that you're just held in. Like, it's literally just to make sure that you don't leave and you're in the area when your turn comes up. Take advantage of that, because instead of just stressing out and like sitting there and panicking, like I see a lot of teams do, go out, and there are always those teams that are really, really happy and enjoying, and they'll go out and they'll talk to other people in the holding room like, oh, how was your experience in public service announcement? What did you guys like most about this competition? Oh yeah, I didn't like this part either. Like, this topic was interesting in that regard, or this was an interesting challenge we overcame. Have those conversations, because those conversations are when you really get to learn a lot. And if you're in this competition that you're very interested in the holding room, you have a concentrated membership of HOSA that's just as interested as you are in that competition. So competing at nationals just gives you like kind of more variety in terms of like people you can talk to, experiences that you can get. So get as many experiences as you can.
Thank you, Piyush. We have another question about being in Anaheim in the conference. What are the best practices for leaving the conference for fun and or dinner? So first of all, if this is from a student, always the best practice is to let your advisor and or your chaperones know exactly where you're going to be and ask for permission at all times. When I went to nationals, our advisors were very nice to let us walk down the streets of downtown Anaheim and go and explore and eat out. But every time we took a step, we would have them let them know. And it's very important, as it's a big trust between you and your advisor, because they're responsible for you, and at the same time, you're not a little kid anymore, but they're still responsible for you and they care for you. I like to think that our advisors and our chaperones are like our second mothers wherever we're at. So wherever you're at, make sure to be safe, to be smart, have a fully charged phone with you, wear your name badge. Do not wear your name badge outside of the conference in the hotel. You just don't want random people down the street knowing your name and what you're here for. So always best practices is to be as safe as you can and let your advisor know. I know that there's plenty of entertainment. Maybe your advisor doesn't want to go to Disney, and you and your friends do. So make sure you guys have that talk with your advisor of, yes, we'll be back by curfew. NAT conferences have curfew, so make sure you know when that curfew is, and to let your advisors know exactly the GPS coordinates where you'll be located. What would you say is best practices for leaving the hotel and having fun, Christine, besides them?
Just be safe with everything you do. Make sure to cross the street at the crosswalks. Don't jaywalk or anything like that. And also make sure you have a buddy at all times. Don't go with someone that you don't know. And if you are, just let your advisors know and talk to them about it. Communication is really key, especially talking to your advisors and to your chaperones to let them know that you're going somewhere, oh, just to go to the bathroom or just to go eat. Just let them know, because your safety is really important to them. And it's also really important to us because we want to make sure that our members are being safe in the city and in Disneyland and all the other places as well.
Thank you, Christine. Piyush, there's a question that I would like for you to answer first. It's, are you guys excited about the National Leadership Conference? And that is, what is one thing you are looking forward to the most?
I mean, from the moment that I was elected to be part of this year's National Executive Council, I've just been looking forward to this National Leadership Conference because Anaheim is beautiful. It's for me personally, if this question was directed to each of us personally, it's my HOSA journey coming full circle. I remember when I sat, and a lot of you have these same experiences when you go to national conferences. I'm sitting in the opening session in the Anaheim Convention Center, all the way at the top. I'm just kind of one of the thousands sitting there and taking all this energy and just in all these national officers on stage. And that year we had Surgeon General Dr. Regina Benjamin as a keynote speaker. And I just remember hearing her words and being so inspired to become something and kind of put my best foot forward. And this year I'm looking forward to seeing my own journey from that moment in Anaheim 5 years ago come full circle and just be on that stage and looking on to all of you. And hopefully our National Executive Council, our keynote speakers, and all the experiences that we have planned for you throughout the week will inspire you to do the same. Kind of steer your HOSA journey in the positive direction. Make the most of all the time you have in this organization. Because the past 5 years flew by for me, and here I am where all that comes down to this one National Leadership Conference. And it's just inspiring. I'm so excited to meet all of you guys. I guess in particular, I'm most excited to see the youngest tier of HOSA members. That's always exciting, seeing like the freshmen and sophomores coming into HOSA, seeing their eyes open up for the first time at their first National Leadership Conference. It's always refreshing and exciting to see. So that's what I'm looking forward to most.
What about you, Christine? What are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to meeting new members. I'm always out there trying to see what the new HOSA story is. Everyone has a different HOSA story, and I want to know about yours. And so I'm willing to go out and just meet people and talk to them how they started with HOSA, how HOSA has helped them grow as a person, as a leader, and also seeing the new generation of future doctors. And also seeing my family one last time as we walk across the stage and then finally say goodbye and then say hello to the new officer team.
I think it's a very hard question. The one thing I may be most excited about, and I can't really recall or have anything, a single more thing. I want to be with the rest of the national officers one more time and enjoy time together. I'm definitely looking forward to that. At the opening session, it's magnificent how we'll have 8,400 members, advisors, and guests all in one place for one purpose, and it's to celebrate another great year of historical proportions. That was for HOSA. We're having an amazing keynote speaker. We're giving away great awards, amazing scholarships that will change people's lives. And then comes the grand award sessions, both of them. They're so awe-inspiring. You see people cry and know that they've made it and they were on stage and they're recognized as finalists and winners of at the national level of healthcare competitions, of what they want to spend the rest of their life doing. So I think that's humbling, it's amazing, and I can't wait for it all. It's going to be a bittersweet moment. I'll let you know that for myself and the rest of the National Executive Council. It's the beginning of the conference, and at the end it'll close out our big chapter of our lives, 8 years of myself with HOSA membership. So that's going to be a big moment for all of us. We have another question. My sister is coming as a guest. What kind of activities will she be able to do? That is the question. Well, while she might not be able to compete, she is able to attend as a paid registered attendee all of the educational symposiums, the hypno show, all the general sessions. She can come listen to our keynote speaker. And so she's more than welcome to join us at anything that's open to all delegates. Great question. If you guys have more questions, please let us know. If you have any more questions, please type them in so we can answer you. We're approaching the 10-minute mark, so make sure you send us your questions. The webinar unfortunately closes at the hour, so let us know what other questions you have. I can tell you that how I found out that I was going through my first national conference. The state conference was in Houston, Texas, and El Paso is very, very far away from Houston, El Paso being the city where I live. So we had to catch a plane, so we weren't there for the closing session. So I was at the airport at a cafe with my friends waiting to depart from the plane, and my advisor came running in, and she told us that I had made it to nationals, the only person from the chapter. And I started crying in front of my friends at the cafe. That was a very emotional moment for me back then. How about you, Piyush? How did you find out? How did you feel when you first heard you were going to the national conference?
Oh my God, what an incredible experience. So I actually, I didn't make it past my regional competition as a freshman. And I was like, I want to be part of HOSA. I want to go farther. So I got together a group of 5 of my friends, and we did the PSA competition. And I remember I was kind of outside because I was also running for state office at the time. And I was just so nervous I couldn't be in the room. So I was like pacing the hallway outside. And I was like, so I come inside, the award session starts. They're starting to get to like the teamwork events. And all of a sudden I'm like, I really need to go to the bathroom. And my friend's like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the one time you're just like, you need to be here. Like, what if we win? I'm just like, this is too nerve-wracking. I need to go to the bathroom. So I walk out the door. I'm just about to open the door to the men's room, and all of a sudden my friend comes running after me. He's like, dude, we have to go on stage. And then we just like, I just forget about all of that, like having to go to the bathroom, and I just rush on stage. And yeah, the rest is history. So that was my experience. I was very, very excited.
That is a funny one. We have another question. What kind of things do you do at this? What do the state meetings consist of? Christine, what does the Texas state meeting consist of?
We have the state officers stand on stage and they talk about what we need to expect at the general sessions, so where we sit, and also they give out our pins during the meetings. And some states do it differently, but for Texas we have our pins, and our registration is in the same meeting as well for advisors. And they talk about what you can expect and everything else.
How about New Jersey, Piyush? What do you guys do at your state meeting?
So one thing that was really cool, actually running for national office allowed me to go to different state meetings. And going to all these different state meetings kind of like helped me realize how different each state meeting is. So I'd encourage you guys to ask your state officer teams what goes on. From my experiences, New Jersey, we have like kind of this pep rally where we just get everyone so inspired and so proud to be part of New Jersey. We say goodbye to our graduating seniors. We recognize them, and we ask them to stand and just kind of give them a moment. We take a picture with them. The State Executive Council, as Christine said, we give our kind of farewells and inspiring words to our membership just to make our state proud and put our best foot forward. One saying we have in New Jersey is that we may be small, but we are mighty. And we kind of use this chant and we walk ourselves into the opening session and we just have a blast. Other state meetings use it kind of go over logistics, planning purposes. They even have some icebreakers, and I think icebreakers are really common and popular now. You have the entire state association, all the state teams running these huge icebreakers just to get everyone welcome to Anaheim this time.
Yeah, I got to attend the Arizona state meeting, and they were playing the heads-up game, the one where you put your phone up there and you play back and forth charades. I thought that was great. Piyush, there's a question for all of us, but I'd like for you to start. How will you stay involved after the national conference is over?
So my love for HOSA has only grown over the course of my HOSA journey. Christine was talking about each of our HOSA stories. After the National Leadership Conference comes to a close, I'm excited to be working on new initiatives with HOSA for the future of healthcare in America and how HOSA can be at the forefront of that. So I'm very, very, very excited to be part of those initiatives. But in addition to that, I'm looking forward to my time as an alumni because our alumni network is so strong. We have over I think it's 2.4 million alumni now. That's remarkable. And to be part of something that large, that's inspiring. And I want to be part of that now, and I want to give back to this organization. I keep in touch with my friends who are older than me and are now HOSA alumni, and I see them giving back. They go to their state associations. If they're not in that state where they first started their journey, they go to the states that they're in, offer a helping hand. And I can't wait to be that support system for all the new members that come in.
How about you, Christine?
Of course, I'm going to be an alumni, and signing up is really easy. You just have to go onto the HOSA website, go on the alumni tab, and then just sign in, and you create your own email, and then you'll get emails from the organization just talking about things you can do. And then also I want to work back with HOSA, and so one way I want to do that is ask my state association if they need help at conferences, and so I can show up and be kind of a behind-the-scenes person. And then I can also start my own chapter at my university. I currently go to Baylor University, and they don't have a chapter, but I really want to start one so students can start competing on the collegiate level, because many people don't know that you can compete as a collegiate member. And our collegiate division is actually very, very large in HOSA, and it's constantly growing. It's because students who are in high school start chapters on the collegiate level, and then so our membership keeps growing on that, and then also they become alumni afterwards, and that's why our alumni numbers are so large. And so through all of that, I really want to stay involved at HOSA. I've been involved for about 5 years now, and I can't really see my life without it, but if things come to end, then I had the greatest time of my life, but I do want to get involved. So.
Thank you, Christine. Definitely everybody who's listening, if you're a senior or in college, after this webinar is done or after you're done watching the video, go online to the HOSA.org, click on the alumni tab, and sign up as an alumni. We want to know who you are and what you're doing. But how will I remain involved? I want to remain involved with HOSA. It's definitely been a life-changing experience, and I want to give back more than I already have, because every time we try to give back to HOSA, it just gives us more opportunities for ourselves, and that's not fair. We need to give back as alumni and thank the organization for everything that it's done. One thing I'm going to miss a lot is a lot of the behind-the-scenes planning and doing, so perhaps one day I'll come back as a volunteer, a mentor, and hopefully donate one day a scholarship to HOSA members, because HOSA was there for several years for me during my college year, but I got awarded thousands of dollars in scholarships, and I'm very grateful for that. I believe we have another question regarding shipping, correct? How would you recommend transporting the equipment and supplies needed for competitions?
So I competed in CPR first aid, and we had to prepare a bag that we needed, but it was difficult to transport. I know for career health display, this resonates as well. All of you who have large items that need to be shipped to the venue, ship it to the hotel with attention to your name and the booking. So if you can coordinate with your advisor like what the booking was under, make sure your name is on it, and just ship it directly to the hotel. And then the hotel staff can coordinate with you when you can pick it up in the main lobby. Kind of the last question, there was a specific question. I'll make it quick on how to prepare for CPR first aid. I went through practice scenarios. I asked my advisor to give me just random scenarios and how I would address it, and me and my partner worked through that. I also made sure I knew all the guidelines. The rubrics and the guidelines tell you step by step how you'd be graded for any of the given scenarios. There's only a set number of scenarios you can get, so go through that and just make sure you know it by heart. Something as simple as using hand sanitizer after one of your procedures can get you 2 points, and that could be the difference. With that, I'll turn it over to Hugo, and you can close this out.
Thank you so much, Piyush and Christine, for joining me in today's webinar preview for the National Leadership Conference. If you have any questions that we weren't able to get to, you can always email HOSA@HOSA.org. But we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It means a lot to us that you were able to join us today. And if you caught the webinar at the middle, or you didn't catch it all, or you want to show it to your friends, advisors, and or family, it will be archived and uploaded onto our National HOSA YouTube page. Thank you very much, and have a great night.